we're clicking the intro. That one. Because all we need to do is give you permission for you to be you.
Oh my goodness.
When you know who you are, you'll know what to do.
That's amazing.
This moment, you've been waiting for this your whole life.
Oh my goodness, I wish I was in the same room because I just want to hug you.
You can't fix a problem using the same thinking that created it. And by the way, beautiful, you didn't do anything wrong.
Thank you.
Your show is not a show, it's an experience.
What do you do, Stephen?
I'm the universal courier that's been sent to answer your doubt.
Thank you.
What the heck is happening right now?
And it's happening live.
My life's about the gift I've been given to make you the gift that you are.
Ready cameras, studio standby.
Video is ready for live.
If I enter your life, it will change. Start investing in the world called your dreams. Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to season 2 of Inspiring Insights. I'm here with Rachel and Scott, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves in a second. But for those of you who are from season 1, you'll always know that my goal is to give you something that if you only watch the first 120 seconds, you'll have something you can take into your life the instant you leave the show, whether it's the full show or in 2 minutes. So here it is. So often in life, we believe that we deserve something. And I'm here to tell you that you don't get what you deserve in life, you get what you believe. And you might think, yeah, but Steve, I've worked so hard at a particular thing, getting the studio set up, getting your relationship set up, having children, getting your business set up. And you think, I worked really hard and I don't deserve what I got. You need to believe in your effort. You need to believe in what you're targeting. You need to believe in every single time you do something. Stop living your life thinking that you deserve anything. The only thing you deserve is what you believe in. And when you believe relentlessly in your ability, relentlessly in your gift, relentlessly in your effort, then you'll get what you deserve, because what you deserve is what you believe. Rachel and Scott, I'm so pleased that you're here. Let me click some buttons and get us on. There you are. Rachel, the rose between two thorns. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me, Stephen. And Scott, a pleasure to meet you.
It is a pleasure on my end, too. And I'm ecstatic to be here.
Yeah.
Everyone probably knows where you're from, Rachel, but just so where are you? Let me ask you this question for the two of you. Where are you from and what do you stand for?
Go ahead, Scott.
I am from, yeah, you needed a second for that one, huh? I did too. I am from New York City, and I stand for a movement connecting people to others who are seeking to find meaning in their life in a world where what meaning is rapidly changing, where purpose, ethics, and spirituality are all undergoing dramatic, historically significant shifts. Building a movement so that people can be in that space is what I stand for.
Which is what you believe.
That's what I believe.
And are you happy with what you deserve in life then, given what you believe?
I am happy with the potential that I think that brings to my life. And I am happy with the impact that I have full belief in my capacity to do.
Rach, where are you from and what do you stand for?
The beginning of my story, it started in India. And then I was adopted, grew up in the States. Scott, I'm a Philly girl.
Philly's my second city.
Yes. So, and Stephen, I loved your Philadelphia shirt the other day that you had in the video. I was so excited.
That's my exercise shirt. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew I grew up outside Philly, so I lit up completely. And Scott, like my parents are, New Yorkers. So my favorite city in the world happens to be New York. What I stand for is I hope everybody is accepted for who they are, because that's something I deal with in my life. People judge me based on the color of my skin, judge me based on my gender, judge me based on my religion. So what I'm fighting for is equality. I'm fighting for a voice for women. I am fighting for to take this world forwards and not backwards. That's what I'm fighting for every day.
Wow. Well, you're going to enjoy what's coming next.
Because all we need to do is give you permission for you to be you.
Oh my goodness.
My life's about the gift I've been given to make you the gift that you are.
That is amazing. Wow.
So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our little masterclass here. Scott, just so you know, because I know you may not be familiar with the show, every week I do a masterclass on all the different episodes, and I normally run these in the context of cycles. So we've done fostering forgiveness, and we're doing a thing called trusting self to letting go today. So this isn't to influence your question. It's just a sort of mini masterclass, like a monologue from a talk show, if you will. So let's do some definitions. The concept of trusting is the reliance on integrity, strength, ability, the hope of something. And letting is the act of allowing, permitting, to pass, to go, or to become. So in the Sede land, trusting self to letting go is defined by acting on the reliance of your integrity to become. Your intuition is your soul, which is your spirit, and it's where your why actually comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Your instinct is your heart, your belief, remembering what I just said at the opening about belief, which is your what. And your intellect is your mind, your ego, which protects us. So it's very healthy, the ego, but it also can be unhealthy. And it's where your how is. So your intuition is your soul of why you are and do what you do. Your instinct is your heart of what you do, and that's expressed beautifully whenever Rachel speaks. And your intellect is your mind about how you do everything. But one of the challenges that we do, and how do you actually let go to become, and it's what I call opinion versus contribution. Most people are living with the addiction of opinion. Someone else, listen to this carefully, everyone, someone else's perspective, assessment, or point of view based on their reflections of themselves about you. Where contribution is someone else's perspective of you based on their review, their research of your knowledge, your experience, and your application. And as the guests heard from me today, the very first thing I asked you is, where are you from and what do you stand for? Because where you're from gives me some understanding of knowledge and experience. What you stand for tells me what you're applying yourself to. Now, the contribution, when we receive someone else's thoughtful contribution, which is their review, it's their awareness of our soul, our heart, and our mind, and what our expression in those three areas are. So to let go and become, start being aware of of those contributions into your intuition, instinct, and mind, and be void of those offering an opinion based on our description and definition of opinion is someone else's viewpoint of what they normally haven't even researched you to be. Normally, when people are giving their opinion, the color of, said to Rachel, and if I call Rachel beautiful, everyone, it's my nickname for her. The color of Rachel's skin and the belief of her religion, the origins of her country, isn't someone's contribution, understanding her instinct, intuition, and mind. It's someone's preconceived notion of what they think that is. And most often than not, they've probably not known about the depth of that religion, and they've probably never even gone to the country of her birth. So choice versus obligation. Choice comes from two forms, our priorities and our desire to appease. Let me say that again. Choice comes in two forms, either our priorities, remembering what Scott said in his opening, or our desire to appease. So someone might have an opinion of someone's skin color. Someone might have an opinion of the way someone does something, and then they'll actually say something to appease their opinion. Choice is also, the personal choice is how we allow others to access into our lives, into our soul, which is our family, and our heart, which is our love and our friendship. Obligation is how we allow others to enter into our professional lives, into our mind, our work, our finances, our welfare. How many of us have an obligation at tax time to allow someone to look into our bank account, but for the remainder of the year, we're very private about what obligation we've got as to whether I should be able to see Scott and Rachel's bank account right now. There's no obligation for me to do that. We make a choice based on obligations normally. So we make choices of who we allow to contribute into our soul, heart, and mind to allow us to trust, to let go, and to become. Let me say that again, everyone. We make choices, if we've broken the addiction of opinion, of who we allow to contribute into our soul, our heart, and our mind to allow us here it is, to trust ourselves, to let go and enter into that trust so we can become, wait for it everyone, what we believe that we deserve. So how to trust and let go to become? Trust intuitively why your soul commands what it believes for and of you, because you get what you believe, not what you deserve. Trust instinctively why your heart commands what it wants of you and for you. And trust intellectually why your mind commands what it needs from and of you. And the best form of intellect is to fuel it. So how do you do all of this, Steve? Seek contributions over opinion, choose priorities over obligations, and trust your heart and soul's belief. So we'll always do this, the Sede takeouts. Question number 1, who contributes into your life with your soulful trust? Is it people giving their opinion, or is it people who are contributing because they've taken the time to understand who you are? Number 2, do you consciously choose priorities over obligations? Let me ask you that again. Do you consciously choose priorities over obligations, remembering that obligations are often just to appease? And then finally, more of a statement and an action rather than a question. Start noticing when your soul and heart is driven over your mind. Really, really important. Start thinking that through on a day-to-day basis. Start noticing when your soul and your heart is driving your mind, because your soul and your heart is where your belief comes from. Your mind is where your desire comes from. Rachel, how does that I know there's a lot there, and these are going to be cut out and just loaded onto YouTube and everything. I create these, Scott, and for everyone listening, I create these with a level of depth because I want one word on one slide to make an impact. As opposed to here's one slide and we'll talk to it. There's a lot in what I just showed you, and most of the feedback from last year was there's a lot in it when Steve does his thing. I want you to take away the one thing that had an impact on you, because I already know, and I won't put you on the spot asking you, everyone that's watching will have been impacted by one thing that I just said.
Scott, do you first? Do you want me to go?
You can go for it, Rachel.
Okay. Here's a couple things that stood out.
Yep.
I think it's really talking about letting go. Sometimes we need to let go of things to move forward in life. You need to do that sometimes. You let go because either it's stopping you from growing as a human being. And the other thing that really, really stood out is you need to know who is good for your heart and for your soul. And you need to be unapologetic for that, right?
Yep.
And I think we're all, older. I'm in my mid-40s. We hit a point in our life when we go, this is who I'm choosing to be around. This is who I know is good for my heart and soul. So by creating those boundaries, it enables us to move forward as human beings.
Yep.
You have to know what's good for your heart and soul. Stephen, you and I have had in-depth conversations about this. I pick and choose what is good, because I'm very clear that I don't let people stand in front of my mission and what I'm trying to do. So yeah, it's okay to let go. And it's okay to protect your heart and soul, and maybe never apologize for it.
Scott, is there any takeaway from you from a collection of thoughts there?
Yeah, it was a little bit overwhelming in the best possible way. You and I could probably sit down and have hours and hours worth of conversations about that, and I'm sure lots of people have responded similarly. I might not exactly remember the terminology, so have patience with me. Thank you. But one thing that was in there that really stuck with me, because it's something that I'm actively working on right now, is the concept of, I believe you framed it as priorities versus obligations.
Yes.
And that is For someone like me, it's weird. I don't define myself as a people pleaser, but I do define myself as someone who makes commitments, who is inclined to want to say yes to others, mostly out of a spirit of service, not to just please them, but then it can create obligations that become overwhelming, or it can create expectations from people that I have to push back on in a way that's challenging, making it difficult for me to always focus on my priorities. I'm sure this is a common problem, even if it originates from a different place than where mine does, but it spoke to me because it's something I struggle with.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the go for it, Rachel.
I just wanted to respond to what Scott. Okay, so this is the best thing I learned, because there is a big difference between being obligated to do something or to doing it because we want to. Right? There's a huge difference.
Yes.
The best thing, and I would say in the last 17 years, I've changed that. I've changed trying to. It's the best advice I can give you, Scott. It is impossible to please everyone.
Oh yeah.
And I'm telling this from being on social media, and it is absolutely impossible. You have to let that go. It's never going to happen. The other thing is, Scott, I never have expectations of people. Do you know why? And I learned this lesson, I would say 2006, 2008. Every expectation that you have of people either sets them up for failure, because they not meet that expectation, or it's going to lead to disappointment for you.
Yeah.
So I've learned not to have expectations of people. And
Rachel, I'm going to go off screen for a sec because the top camera's gone off. Keep talking and I'll come back. So I look as if I'm disappearing. Keep going.
Okay, so I've learned to be pleasantly surprised by people. No, I'm being very serious with you. I have crucial moments in my life where people haven't showed up or done right. Okay, so, and I'm always there for the people in my life that I'm very close. If they need me, they know I'm. That's just how it is. I'm a diehard friend. I will be there for you. Same thing. That's just the way it is. But it's very interesting because you could be a person who is always there for people. And then when you turn around, you ask for help, you have to look and go, who's there? So through all the hard times in my life, I know who stood by me, who was there for me, and I know who wasn't.
And I think personally, that's something that is, if those of us who have lived more than a day or two, if we haven't learned it, then we are in deep trouble. I do think that one of the things that you're pointing to that I've been focusing on a lot recently is with clarity as to my mission. What is something that is mission critical? Mm-hmm. What is something that's mission neutral, and what's something that detracts? And as I'm struggling through this challenge, understanding that the obligations that were mentioned a little bit earlier, and that was such an excellent framework, really can help quickly identify what is in a way trash, or at best mission neutral, as opposed to mission critical, which is to me how I'm interpreting that concept of priorities. And it's really a mind expanding way to review it.
Yeah, one of the things, and again, sorry, the camera ups, people very kindly send me all kinds of messages going, oh, really, Steve, have a great show. And they do it 2 or 3 minutes or just after we start, and it sometimes shuts the camera off. Courtesy is not people pleasing, it's personal integrity. A lot of people confuse people pleasing.
Yep.
And they go, I'm not a people pleaser. Are you courteous to your integrity of the way you behave, integrity to your values, integrity to your beliefs, integrity to your character? People pleasing is a byproduct of the courtesy of your integrity to who you are. I don't see myself as a people pleaser, and I get lots of nice comments from people. I have a courtesy to the personal integrity of the giftedness I have and my obsession to make this statement come true. My passion is your highest potential. I'm not trying to please you. I'm trying to enable you. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really important. If you start thinking of courtesy as your personal integrity, as opposed to, well, I'm a people pleaser. People who are people pleasers are egotistically looking for some type of opinion of, aren't I good?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care about that. I really don't. Really don't care about that.
I think in some ways, Stephen, like people, because I would say I wasn't good at that, in like my 20s or early. I had to work on that and I had to stop doing that. And that's part of, I think, growing up and realizing the whole thing that you're not. It's possible to do it. And I think it's you have to look, you have to come to a place where you feel comfortable saying the word no. And that was the biggest lesson I learned in 2008. Was someone very wise had a discussion with me about it. Learning to say no doesn't mean that you're rejecting the person. It's saying that it just doesn't work for you, or you're not, or you can't handle it. It's more about like self-care. And I think that once you learn to say no and to say, thank you so much, but I'm not able to do this, I think that's okay. And that's how you move forward in life.
But sometimes, and I agree, just as my mentor Bob always used to say, let's take the helicopter up 30,000 feet on what you just said, Rachel. Saying no is having a commitment to the integrity of your values, beliefs, principles, and your character. People go, I find it hard to say no. Really? Do I find it hard to say no to be disrespectful and be promiscuous with women? No, because it's against my personal integrity. Do I find it hard to say no that I'm going to punch someone in the nose because I'm frustrated because we're in lockdown here in Sydney? No, because it's against my personal integrity. Do I say no if someone offers me drugs? Do I find it hard to say no if someone offers me drugs? No, because it offends my personal courtesy. Do I find it easy to walk down the street and when the lift opens in the hotel or wherever I am to allow a lady to go first, do I find it difficult to go first and go, no, you wait? No, because it's my personal integrity. Everyone is a gift from Rachel to all of you that are listening. Start saying no, not because of the other person. Start saying no because what you represent for yourself. If there's one thing that I'm obsessed about is getting people to believe in their potential, and your potential's on the other side of you identifying your character, your principles, your values, your integrity. Your potential is not on the other side of impressing someone. It's like Scott said in the green room before we started. Why is everything look the way it does and all of these intros and all of this stuff that you do, Steve? The reason it does is I have a massive respect for the people who ring me up and ask me and share their hearts with me. Massive respect for that. So if you're going to say that you mentor people in excellence, if you're going to say that you give people an opportunity to meet their potential and then teach them to be great with it, you better be excellent with the potential that you display. Now, you may not do videos, you may not have shows, you may just be walking down the street. Walk down the street with your head held high, knowing that you're not pleasing anyone, you've got a commitment to your integrity, and you're not saying no to anyone, you're saying yes to what you believe to be true. And when you do, you'll automatically become a leader, even if you don't think you are one.
I'm waiting for Scott.
You shut us both up in the best possible way.
All right. Well, Rachel, we're coming back for a question in a sec.
My question away.
My question is, how do I bring people together even though we're far apart?
How do you coach people to trust their passion?
What are the top 3 qualities that I should look for people for me, my brand and business?
What can I do not to make myself so tired and exhausted from other people's pain?
My question away.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello.
Scott, we'll come back to you in 2 seconds, my friend. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. What are we talking about today? I know we've already kicked off with a good conversation, which is cool. So what else did you have in mind, or do you just want to keep expanding on what we've been doing? Ladies' choice, my lady.
I wanted to talk about the importance of right now being, because you and I are passionate about this, being an empathetic human being.
Yep.
I wanted to talk about the power of empathy and why in this state of this world in the last year, and we've talked about it privately, what we've seen, what has happened, what's going on with people. Why, unless you're an empathetic human being right now. And if you choose that path, you're going to move forward. If you're choosing a path of not having an empathetic heart with all the suffering you and I've seen this year,
Yep.
it's even in business. Like even I like Stephen, I wouldn't even recommend somebody if they were an empathetic human being. I'll be honest with you.
What does it mean to you?
Empathy?
Yeah.
Empathy to me is the ability to feel other people's pain, to feel what they're going through, in order to put I'm sorry, I said that wrong. To put the needs of others in front of yours, especially when they're hurting, especially when they are pouring their heart out to you. Empathy is the ability to truly, truly feel. So when someone shares a story with me, right? Or they text me, and I've had people go through some serious stuff this last month of my life, really heartbreaking stuff. It's the ability to take the time to show up, to be there for them. And that is what I feel this world needs more of.
Okay. All the things that
He's brainstorming.
So sorry. No. Everything you just said, I asked you what empathy was, and you said it's to feel, needs, to share, and to show up to other people. To feel is to create a level of understanding. The needs of someone is to be able to relate to them. To share is to listen, and to show up is to be present. One of the biggest challenges people have with feeling and understanding is, guess what? They're not feeling. They're addicted to the opinions. So they're trying to get likes, they're trying to get shares, all those types of things. Most people are not sharing their story, because it's when you share your story, you create a level of relatability. So when you talked about and shared your story, as a classic example about the color of your skin and the origins of your birth, straight away there's a relatability to that. And guess what? When Scott contributed, he played off that, even though he obviously is American by birth, if I understand Scott, but he still played off some of the prejudices, because that's what it is. So when you share and listen, my seminar in a sentence on listening, everyone, if you want to listen, it's not about not speaking. Listen so deeply, you can feel the emotion in the words that they're saying. My seminar in a sentence, the art of listening is to listen so deeply, you can feel what they're saying. Most people don't do that. Most people think listening is the gap between me speaking after you've finished. And to show up is to have a level of presence. How do you do that? Get rid of opinion, show up with your story, listen for emotion, and you will naturally be present. What's that called? If I have a removal of opinion, I now have a story that's emotional and present. So I'm now present, listening, relating, and understanding to you. Guess what? I've just become empathetic. The formula for empathy is to actually contribute by understanding who someone is based on the comments we made earlier in the masterclass. Share your story so they can understand you, relate to them. Listen so deeply you understand their emotion. You do this beautifully, Rachel, every time I speak to you, and every single interview you do this as a matter of course. The NFL guy that I saw recently, and I know there's a bunch of others that you've done, but I've been in hibernation. The NFL guy, you were so contributing to his story because you not just knew that he was an NFL player, but you understood what he was doing. You really dig into it. You ask people to share their story. You talk with the level of emotion because your heart, and you're so present to it. Why? Because you're feeling their needs, sharing yours, and showing up. And as a result, you're known as the lady with the significant following, who's basically representative of love. What's love? Contributing to the story of the emotion and being present to someone else. That's what empathy is. Most people go to the dictionary and try and work out what the word empathy is. No one ever understands what are the actions of empathy. Let's do this for a second, everyone. What's the actions associated with trust? What's the actions associated with loyalty? What are the actions associated with generosity? What are the actions associated with empathy? Stop defining how much you love someone and start showing them.
That's right.
Go on, Rachel.
I 100% agree with that. I absolutely do. I believe that it's very easy for Scott. I'd love to know what you think. It's very easy to say the words "I love you." We all say, we all do it. We do it on a text. We do it wherever.
Yeah.
We all say that. But saying that, love is definitely an action. It's so easy to spit out the words "I love you." We can all do it a million times a day. It's behind that. Stephen, I agree with you.
The truest form of love is to forgive regardless.
Interesting.
To forgive regardless. It's hard. And if you think of all of the iconic images of love and everything, it's to be able to forgive regardless, because the frailties of being human. It's really important as far as that's concerned. So everyone, I think one of the things that we can not finish on in the context of speaking with Rachel, but let me do this, and I don't normally write and show you what I'm writing. Actions. What are the actions associated with love? What are the actions associated with sharing? What is the action associated with being present? Because the collection of those actions, this plus this plus this plus this equals equals empathy. Everyone loves to say, I'm an empath, and I'm going, great, and then they display that they're not. Because it's a great buzzword. I'm an empath, I'm an influencer. But what I love to say to people, and I mention this all the time, I have zero interest in being an influencer, but boy, oh boy, am I obsessed with being an impactor in your life. So actions. Actions, everyone. If there's something in your life, in your business, let's do this a bit more business-like, as opposed to, I throw all my pens around. Let's do this in terms of business. What actions are you doing in terms of your marketing? What actions are you doing in terms of your sales? What actions are you doing in terms of your culture? Your culture both internally and your culture externally. My seminar in a sentence on culture, everyone. Culture is what you do on a daily basis. We need to build a culture of trust. Good. What's the action of trust? We need to build a culture of understanding. What's the actions of understanding? Culture is what you do on a daily basis. It's the collection of what you do on a daily basis. And over time, your culture of integrity or lack of it is based on the daily activity of you demonstrating it. So in your marketing, what are the actions of your marketing? In your sales, what's the action of your sales? And I'm not talking just, and I'll do this and I'll speak about this a little later in the show. I'm not just talking about the actions of, I've got to do a Facebook ad or a social media ad, or I've got to do some type of influencer campaign. I'm talking about the integrity aspects that would get people, how much actions of trust do you have in your marketing? But Steve, no, hang on, Steve. No, hang on. What you've missed out on here, and I love doing this because I love it when people say to me, but Steve, I'm in a B2B situation, or I'm in a B2C situation. I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay. We'll assume this is a person, gender both. Let's take these things called people out of this business, out of this business, out of this business, and out of that customer base. What's left if you take the people out of B2B and B2C? This. Nothing. So stop making your marketing about the mechanisms and start making your marketing about the things that make life work. People. If the whole B2B and B2C thing was so easy, why was COVID such a problem when everyone had to go home? Because people didn't know how to understand the intellect, the instinct, the integrity, the intelligence, the IQ a little bit, but the massive EQ implications of now having to stay at home. But it's B2B and it's B2C, but all of a sudden the emotional quotient around working from home through a pandemic that we'd never been through before, all of a sudden had a problem. So in business, everyone, what are the actions that you're taking in your marketing, in your sales, in your culture that's associated with the most critical thing in your life and in your business? People. Because if you took the people out of B2B and B2C, you're left with nothing. Stop thinking about actions in the context of marketing, sales, and your culture in terms of mechanisms of how you run your business. because the iconic businesses are the ones that have a culture of excellence towards their people.
Again,
Rachel.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. I just wanted to digress into business because a lot of the times people think, Steve's that's really cool guy that's motivating, and it's really motivating and it makes me feel good. Ask the people who sit down with me and do business coaching and listen to what they say. But that's another story for another day. Rachel, have you got any closing comments?
Yeah, I want to say this.
Please.
Keep doing what you're doing. It's really, really important. You know, I tell you all the time, you know, when we talk, that you are a light that lights many other people across this world. And that is really, really crucial. And that's what people need right now, because your light lights up thousands. And then we take, you know, that person who you lit up is going to try to light up thousands more people. So it's extremely important what you're doing, and you have my deepest respect and appreciation.
Beautiful. And my vertical camera's playing up today. Scott, have you got any thoughts on that? On anything we've just said? We're going to come to your question in a sec, Scott. So, and hang on, we'll put the road.
Yeah, that's fine. One of the things I really liked was the idea of tying empathy to actions as opposed to having it purely be a feeling state. It is exactly what you said earlier, something that anyone can say. Someone even can be genuinely an empath. But what I'm hearing and what I'm observing with you is that it's all for naught. In a way, it doesn't matter if you're empath or not, if you're not acting. And that's the real power of it. And particularly, I think the part that might not be as frequently discussed in relation to empathy was your concept at the end of really showing up.
Well, showing up is presence. If you think, and it's the reason why I asked Rachel to define what she thought empathy was. And it's like, what is trust? What is love? What's empathy? What's generosity? What's gratitude? What's grace? They're all actions. They're words in the English language, and obviously all the other languages. They're words that define the collection of activities that have an impact on another human being. That's what they are. And then people sit around and go B to B and B to C. I've got to talk about culture. What culture do you want? I want my business to be representative, in Rachel's case, the entity of everything Rachel does. And I know more of her than you, Scott, at this stage. Everything Rachel does is about love and caring. It's just heart, everything. So guess what? Every action of this lady's life is about that. Now, the origins of where it comes from and the reasons for it, it's both in her DNA, but it's also because of some of the things that have happened and the preconceived notions of people's ignorance about skin color and those types of things. But and I know anyone who knows Rachel, every single person that knows Rachel knows of the actions that manifest into the one thing that she represents: love, heart. Even the concept. Have you got anything to comment about what we're talking about? And off she goes talking about my welfare. Everyone wants to talk about, I'm very grateful. When was the last time you said, I thank you? I'm very loving. When was the last time you forgave someone who trod on your toe, spiritually, emotionally, physically? I'm very gracious, Steve. When was the last time you acted like that? I'm an empath, Steve. Good. Tell me examples of what you've done. Start defining yourself based on your actions, and then allow someone else to call you what they call you.
Can I add 2 things real quick?
Yes, you can. I've got to go dive up onto the roof again because the camera's gone back off. So go for it while I'm
So you know I'm an empath. You and I have talked about that privately.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing to be, because when you are an empath, when someone's hurting, you feel it. You actually feel that on like a cellular level. So it's not easy. It's not easy to carry the pain of other people in the sense that you feel it on such a deep level. So that's aside. If you really are an empath, you understand that it is something that you carry with you, and you feel. So when someone shares their story and it breaks my heart, I feel that. Like I will think about it. I will take the time. If Scott said something and he said, you know, Rachel had a really hard day today, and I say, what's going on, Scott? You know, I would feel what he was doing. So yeah, it's not a word that should be, I agree with you, it should be thrown around too much at all. And I'm curious to know your thoughts, both your thoughts. I have very strong views on forgiveness, Do you believe everything's forgivable? I'm curious what Scott and Steven think about that.
Do you?
No. I'll be honest with you, Scott. I don't. I have very strong views on forgiveness, which really shock people that know me. They're like, really? Like, you know, and I'm like, no, not everything is forgivable. I don't think that.
Then expand on that really quickly. So we understand. Yeah, go on.
I'm always honest with you, Stephen. I'm always honest with you. It shocks people when I tell them I don't believe everything's forgivable. Because I've either had things done to me or seen people do stuff to people that I love and care about.
Yep.
And when you excuse certain behaviors in people that are so horrible or horrific, you're giving them permission to keep moving on in life and acting the same way. When you say, I don't forgive you, I'm not gonna support or condone the behavior that you just did to somebody that I love and care about. No, not everything is forgivable. I promise you that. Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah, Scott, does that help? Does that help you?
Yeah, I think that the reaction I'm having to it is that, to me, there can be a distinction between forgiveness and holding accountable. The classic extreme example is someone who perpetrated a genocide.
Oh.
Most people, I would imagine, would have a hard time forgiving someone who ordered the execution of millions of people for no reason. And I think it would be understandable if even if people don't agree with it, if you or me or someone else were to say, I, for instance, do not forgive Hitler for the Holocaust. That being said, there is the argument that I've heard that forgiveness ties one into their own sense of wholeness, that it's not about the person who is being forgiven, but the person who's doing the forgiving, to be able to be in a psychological state to move beyond that pain and then be able to move forward with their own life. Whereas holding the person accountable is a different story. I can forgive you until the cows come home, but that don't mean you ain't going to jail if you committed some crimes. And so to me, I view that as a little bit of a separate, I don't view them as part of the same continuum. Crimes or activities that are hurtful, or even interpersonal interactions that cause destruction and pain. I do believe in holding people accountable for them. And there are some things that I believe I might let slide, but certain things I would personally refuse to not hold someone accountable for. Forgiveness, to me, that's more of a personal decision. I don't know whether I could forgive, for instance, Hitler, but to me, that's a different situation that wouldn't necessarily go as to anything Hitler did or not, but at least potentially, according to one argument, be a mechanism for our own psychological way of dealing with something.
No, you got so deep there, Scott. That was like deep.
He did.
He
did.
Boom!
First person, I'm gonna tell you, there's no way in hell I would ever forget what he did. I've spent time with Holocaust survivors. Yeah.
I'm not saying one should, by the way.
No.
I'm just saying that there's that argument out there.
Yes, that was a good example of what behavior should not be excused. Because believe it or not, I still come across people, Scott, who say the Holocaust didn't exist. I'm like, really? Like where? Like where were you? Do you not read history? Do you not take the time to educate yourself? So yeah, I agree with you.
As far as I'm concerned, because we could get into a long, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that you say. Forgive is to not forget.
Yep.
And this is playing a little bit off what Scott said as well, but in the context of, without going through my story, because many people have heard parts of it, forgive is to not forget, in the context of some of the things that have defined who I am and some of the things have put me in the situation I live financially and personally right now. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not forget. So you don't forgive what happened, but you forgive who, and the who is you. The truest form of forgiveness is to forgive yourself, because your potential's unlocked and your beliefs unlocked when you forgive you, but you don't forget what happened. Too many people can't forgive the action. And I spent 58 years being an absolute PhD in maths. I'd need a bigger whiteboard if I wanted to write down all of the things where I've not only not forgiven, but I've not forgotten what happened, and I've lived with the limitations that's put on my life. Bankruptcy, suicide, all those types of things. So when I say forgiveness, Rachel, and I don't know all the circumstances of, and it's got, yes, there's some elements of gender things as well, but forgiveness is to not forget what happened, the action. But if you can't forgive the action, it'll limit you. But if you can forgive yourself for being associated with it and focus on your potential and your belief, then all of a sudden the mechanism of this thing called your life is activated. But you never forget the action. But you release yourself from the limitation of being bitter about it, because unresolved forgiveness in yourself is called bitterness. And if you live a bitter life, you're in trouble. And I'm not saying that of you, Rachel, but I'm speaking. It's an extremely personal subject that everyone's got a point of view on. But my situation and the things that are around the house of where I am here is learn how to forgive, not forget, because the actions of bitterness towards what happened will limit your life. And the reality is the people who have caused you a wrong don't really care, because they've left. And the residue of the action is what's limiting. I'm not saying to forgive. My biggest forgiveness of me is not all of the things and some aspects of family things and everything. My biggest forgiveness is to forgive myself for spending so long, not going, I know that happened, I know where it is. My biggest forgiveness is, Steve, cut yourself a break, and it's underneath the TV. It says your memories are in tomorrow. Your memories are in tomorrow. And up on the wall, it says, if you focus on protecting your heart, you can avoid a lot of pain, but you can also end up living half a life. So it's too an important conversation to have it, to put my opinion about forgiveness. But the way I see forgiveness is not forgetting the action. But if you don't forgive, not the action, but if you don't forgive yourself by in any way, half the time people can't get over the fact that it happened, they allowed it, it was unfair on them, which all those things are. You don't forget those actions, but you forgive yourself, because your potential and your belief in your life is on the other side of resolved forgiveness of you, not anybody else. Most people struggle with the concept of forgiving themselves. And that's not an assumption and an accusation, or accusation's the wrong word. That's not a summary towards yourself. I'm just trying to find for people out there that are listening in on this, and we'll see it in all the cuts that we do of it. Everyone, find a way to never forget the actions that limit you, but find a way to forgive yourself from the bitterness of being involved. Easier said than done, damn right. 58-year-old guy who's gone bankrupt and committed suicide because I couldn't forgive the actions of what caused me to think putting a roof down on a car, drinking a bottle of gin and trying to kill myself was the resolution of what they did to me in my past, when my future is where my life is. And the potential of your future is in the presence called now. Now, Scott, we're going to have to dive on and have a chat with yourself. So I'll drop you into the green room for 2 seconds, Rachel. And I'll move that on out the way. How are you, Scott?
I'm outstanding. This is amazing.
Thank you, buddy. What are we talking about? What question did you have? Do you want to expand on what we've chatted about, or do you want to go back to an original point you wanted to say?
I'd like to go back to an original point, actually.
Go for it, buddy.
So I'll frame the question the best way I can, and I'm sure you'll take it and blow my mind, and that's going to be awesome. I know my mission. I know my why. I have my vision. I know where I want to be. I am an action-oriented person. I am someone that moves. I'm impatient for that reality to be there. And that impatience causes sometimes stress, but more importantly, it is mental junk that's in my mind. Every moment that I'm sitting there being impatient and sitting there frustrated because my vision hasn't been actualized yet, even if I am taking actions. Those actions, of course, as we know, just as the nature of time and the universe and the way the world works, they have to occur in their own time frame. And so the impatience is a mental stress that I experience that I understand is unnecessary. But what's the block? What's the action step, if any? Or maybe this isn't even an action oriented. What is the mindset transition so I can, and people that are in my situation, because I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world, can work through that patience or at least build it up a little more?
Well, if you're going to ask like that, I suppose I better answer him. Hey, Rachel.
Nice.
I mean, the energy in
God's
there was,
energy. I love it.
yeah, that it was. Okay, let's do it this way. You said you've got a mission. Congratulations. Got a vision, got a why. That's fantastic. But you said you suffer from impatience.
I
That's
do.
because you have a lack of focus. You say that you're frustrated. That's because of a lack of action. You say that you're stressed. That's because of a lack of structure in what you're doing. Now, you might go, oh, hang on, Steve, I have got a really good focus, got a mission, vision, and why. If you do, then your impatience is going to be linked to some type of focus, absence of focus, action, or structure. If you think Roger Federer today, for the first time in, 20 years, lost 6-0 in a 3-set tennis match. It's never happened to him before. And I was watching, well, after I got everything set up and everything, I was just watching his interview because I'm always interested to understand how ridiculously elite performers deal with loss. He got beaten 6-0 in the third set. Number one, he never gets beaten in 3 sets, and he's never, ever in 20 years at Wimbledon lost 6-0. He's certainly done it to a lot of others, but he hasn't done it to himself. He said, I'll take a little bit. He said, I'm pretty sad right now. He said, either tonight or maybe in the next day, I'll be ready to speak about it. And he said, in 2 days' time, I'll be back to my own self because of focus, because of action, because of structure. And he also talked, and this is not the reason I've got the triangle, but I'll use this because it's live. He said that when he went through his 18 months of rehab with his knee, for example, one of the things that he did was the first rung, listen to this, everyone, the first rung on Roger Federer's 18 months of going from being on crutches for a long period of time and he couldn't even walk, his first rung was a thing called Wimbledon. The first step on the climb up the mountain was called Wimbledon. So one of the things in his case, what he talked about is obviously he's impatient for his success because he's used to it. He's frustrated he's lost today and he's pretty stressed out. But he said it's going to take him 1, maybe 2 days to get his focus, his action and his structure back in place. Now, a lot of the times you've got a mission, a vision and a why, and your impatience is coming from you've lost focus on why you started, and you might go, well, hang on, no, Steve, I've got a vision of what my future is. Yeah, I get it. But do you have, so that's let's say, for example, this is your vision. Down here is your strategies of what you do. Trevor in Perth will be laughing right now because I've been doing this with him. And down here is your tactics. This is the way I do everything. Rachel and people from Soul Shifters who may see this, the reason I've been so quiet on social media lately is because I'm doing this. Relentlessly doing this. I went away for 4 days finally got out of Sydney after a year and a bit. I went to a golf resort and I locked myself in a really nice villa there that the people put me up on kindly, the people from here. And I did nothing else except plan out what the 3-day-a-week posting for the next year will be for Sede. Rebranded everything. That's what I've been doing. So number one, what is your vision, which is what your end state is? What's the end state of what you want? Then what are the groups of activities that you need to do to get each one of those working? And you might go, Steve, this is tactical. No, it's mindset. So my vision is I've got an end state of X plus Y. That's my end state. This is what I want to do, and this is when I want to do it by. So, for example, what did I just say? 3 days a week, 5 platforms a day for the next 12 months, and I know exactly what's posting on the 3rd of October. I know exactly what it is. So what you need to do is create an end state for yourself, which is called your vision. The second thing you need to do is, if my vision is I want to be posting for the next 365 days, I want to post 3 times a day. and I want to post on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and I want to do that both vertically and through stories. So I want to do that with square video and vertical video. That's my vision in terms of social posting inside of Sede. The first thing that I need to do is, well, I need to consolidate the 11,000 videos I've got. I need to create a new brand framework that's both square and vertical. I then need to consolidate and action those into which ones are insights and which ones are formulas, because everything you'll see coming out from me now is going to be a Sede insight, which is inspiring, or a Sede formula, which is motivating. Inspiring you to think, motivating you to act. Every single one of them. Then I sit down and go, right, what do I need to do out of this 11,000? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Cypress Lakes Golf Course, take my 11 hard drives, and I'm going to select all of the content based on the bucket of, is it a formula or is it an insight? And guess what? I was supposed to have done it 3 weeks ago, but I got delayed. Mainly because when you're working this many hours and we're in lockdown here in Sydney. So I literally go days without talking to anyone. It's doing my head in. So the end result is my vision was to post 3 times a day, 365 days on all of these platforms. I need to understand what my 11,000 videos were going to be. I needed to understand the branding that I wanted, because I wanted to slightly change the brand. I wanted to understand where the Inspiring Insights show and the second show I'm doing, which starts next week, where does that fit? I then actually needed to have a story-based framework and a square-based framework for all the social platforms. And then I needed to go into the individual activities called the day-to-day tactics that are part of the group of activities called strategies to enable my vision. Every single minute of the day, I'm working towards what I'm doing today a year from now. So am I impatient? Yes, I am, but I remind myself of my focus. Do I get frustrated that I'm 3 weeks behind? Yes, but I acknowledge how much effort and work that I'm doing, and all of it's by myself. Do I get stressed out? No, because my structure, my action, and my focus makes me do what Rachel always wants me to do. I love what I'm doing, and I'm proud of myself. So one of the things you want to do is, your vision is based on a group of activities called strategies. Each one of those strategies has an individual tactic in it. So when that individual tactic of making a square video for the trailers that I've put out, because there's trailers to all of this stuff, and I got one element wrong. I was talking to Trevor in Perth, and he said, Steve, why don't you call it insights and formulas? Why have live and streets and strategies? And it's too confusing. You either are being insightful or you're giving instruction. So it's either a formula or an insight. Thanks, Trev. Thanks, Trev. I could have got stressed out that I then had to re-engineer everything, and that's where my 3 weeks got lost. But guess what? I redid my focus, that I now wanted to have insights and structures and formulas, I should say. So let's do a really quick summary on this to make it really, really simple. One of the things that you need to do, Scott, is ask yourself, if you've got a vision and a mission, what is the date that you want to achieve something by? What is it? And there'll be this type of layer in each one. So what is the end state date of your version of posting for 365 days, for example? What is it? Define it. Then what are all of the groups of activities that you need to do to make all of this work? And if you want to write these down, it's going to be, what is the ideation? What is the creation? What's the execution or deployment, as Trev called it yesterday? So what's the discovery? These are the four ways that you create, and so you define an end state of what you want. In your clustered activities, what is the discovery, the ideation, the creation, and the execution that you want? And I coach in this and teach people how to do it. Then in each one of these clustered activities, what are the groups of activities that you now need to do? Because when I'm working on a video edit on, what is it, today's the 8th of July. I know it's the 7th for you guys. I'm working on a video edit for the 8th of July, but I'm really working on a video edit for the 8th of July, 2022. And when something changes, like the structure of putting the brand a bit more simply into 2 pillars, either insights or formulas, that blew me out by 2-3 weeks because of the conversation I had with Trev, which was really good. He's a Sede guest, so he was informing me from someone who gets coached by me. So that was really informative. That blew me out by 3 weeks, but all it made me, it didn't make me impatient. It made me realize that my focus has been realigned. My actions and my structure don't change. Most people's focus gets altered, their actions get threatened, their structures get threatened. Boom, boom, boom. Why? Because my structure and my actions got blown out. So what you want to be able to do, what in your vision or your mission, your why, pick out one of the most critical things. Posting every day and having ever-present brand awareness, to use me as an example. What do you want to do? 365 days by 3 days per week by 5 platforms. Great. What are all the activities you need to do? Discover all the content, get the ideas about branding, create the branding, execute it in terms of the schedule, and then go into each of those areas and start doing day to day to day to day to day. My structure, my action, my focus never gets impacted. So I'm never impatient, frustrated, or stressed. My recent stress and frustration is handing the responsibility of my gift to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't their fault, it was mine.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've done that really quick and I coach and all of this type of stuff, but what you need to do is, what's the end state of what you want? What are all the individual activities that are grouped together in strategies or campaigns? And then in each one of those, what's the individual action you need to take? So after the show's finished, I'll probably duck out, get a coffee and come back because I'm not allowed to be outside. And when I come back, I'll probably sit and have a coffee, chill out. And after I've chilled out, I know exactly what I'm doing, because this afternoon, I'm creating content for the month of June 2022. Rachel.
Yeah, I think you said 2 things that are really, really crucial there. Okay.
Go.
First of all, sometimes you need to step away and you need to regroup. And may we never, ever, ever apologize for that.
Nope.
No, never. So that's crucial. Second, planning. This is where I see people making huge mistakes. They get stressed. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to create. I don't know what's coming next. Okay. So like I plan out everything for my calendar. Like you, I know what's coming with my content, what I'm going to be discussing. And that relieves a lot of stress. If you're wondering every day, what am I going to do? What am I going to put out to the world? What is my message? It's because you didn't take the time. And I'm not saying don't be spontaneous, because I do things spontaneous too. I'll just turn on the camera and say, hey, I want to talk about this today. So yes, Scott, that helps a lot. The planning, I know exactly what I'm going to do, like Steven's talking about, like in the month, what my schedule's like. And yeah, you go with the flow, things get canceled, I have a lot of pop-up meetings that will show up that I didn't expect. And I know you have a balance of going with the flow and planning at the same time. And that's like really, really important, because you create that schedule. It doesn't mean that schedule is going to stay the way it is. I mean, that's reality. Life happens. Things happen to people. Like, Rick, they'll text me, Rach, I got to reschedule today. Okay, well, or I'll text, I can't do this today. I have something personal going on. So that planning, Scott, relieves a huge amount of my stress, because I know exactly what I'm doing.
So Scott, if you want a 9-point plan on how to do it, this is it. Number 1, and I'll go up the top here. You said you were very clear on your mission, your vision, and I think you said focus. Pardon me if I got the last one wrong. What you need to do is solidify your focus using the end state. What's the end state for your focus? What actions are you taking? Which is, let me do it this way. So your focus is the very top part. It's the end state. Your actions are the strategies. Your structure is the individual tactics of what you're going to do day to day. You plan exactly. So number 1, get your focus. Number 2, get your actions. Number 3, get your structure. Number 4, do exactly what Rachel just said. Get your plan. Number 5, keep focused. Forgive if you slip. Forget about slipping. renew, and go back to step 9, which is to refocus action and structure. And you just keep going around that loop. The thing that what's in here for you is there, and I'm not suggesting the planning's wrong. I don't know enough to make that comment. But instead of having focus, you've got impatience.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a forgiveness and forget, you've got stress.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are doing that because what's my end state focus? What's my campaigns of action? What are my individual structures that I need to do? What is the plan? And it was something we did with Trevor, for example. We actually did something for Trevor for a presentation where we broke the 12 months of this opportunity that he's looking at into quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and we did triangles in each one. Sent it to the people. They were blown away by it because it was simple. It was so structured about what he's doing in each quarter around discovery, ideation, delivery, and creation and delivery for him. So number 1, have a focus of your end state. Number 2, have the collection of actions. Rachel's touched on some of that. Number 3, have the individual structure of activities you're going to do. Have a plan that's assigned to a timeline. Focus on the plan. Forgive yourself if it slips. Forget about stressing out. Go back to renew and go back to here. And there's a whole process on how I coach and teach them how to do this. And so when you ask me in the green room, Steve, who does all of the stuff for the show? I do. If you see anything online, it's me, except for the intro. But even the intro, if you saw the original intro I sent. So all the website, the artwork, the graphics, the branding, the editing, the filming, the way this studio is built, I do everything because I'm ferociously focused, unbelievably disciplined to my action, unbelievably engaged in my structure. The only thing I've changed in my plan is complete and utter ownership of my life, complete and utter ownership of my gift. And here's something to leave everyone with. Darren Hardy from Success Magazine said this: find a mentor, go there, find a mentor that you're prepared to swap with. And I don't mean swap in terms of you go and live in their house or you in their relationships or their bank balance. No. Find someone who you would be prepared to stop with in terms of their integrity, in terms of their work ethic, in terms of their structure, in terms of the way they go about doing what they're doing. Most people are getting mentored or coached by people that can tell them the structure of what to do. But one of the things Darren said is find a mentor or a coach that you would literally swap with because you have so much of a desire to understand how they do what they do. If I had the opportunity to swap with Rachel, I would. Why? Because of her insatiable desire to touch people's hearts. I don't mean swap partners and all that nonsense. I don't mean swap bank accounts. I don't mean swap where you live or they live in a really nice place in the world. So I could forget about all of those fabricated things. Would you swap with the work ethic, the integrity, the structure, the desire, the mission, the values, the principles and character of that person? Forget about where they live. Would you swap with them? And if the answer is yes, then go and engage them.
I love that.
Let's go to here.
I was listening to see that. Yeah, that was really good.
Okay. Now I normally do a wrap-up thing, but we're not going to do a wrap-up thing today because I'm still getting the hang of all of this. And just to confuse matters, the phone keeps going off, but it's okay right now. So, Rachel, as we go to wrap-up, so this doesn't go on forever, just what's some of the key takeaways from you? I probably will do the wrap-up thing that I normally do. So what's a couple of key takeaways or what's a aha moment or key takeaway for you, Rachel?
The importance of self-care. I think that came across really, really strong. And never apologizing for it. The importance of, we all need help. That's reality. I mean, Scott, that's what comes down to, right? And we all need life. And I think that the minute we put that, I'll text my friends. I'm like, how do I do this? What's going on here? Steven knows. Sometimes I'm like, I have no freaking clue how to do this. And so we all need help in life. Yeah. When people realize that, and that's what happened during this pandemic. People went, oh my God, I'm home. I can't have this person go sit and have a conversation with them and have them show me this. So we've had to reach out in our virtual world and say, I need help. How do you do X, Y, Z? So those are the things that came across to me. Put ego aside, lead with an empathetic heart. And if you want your dreams to come to fruition, you have to do the work. It's as simple as people ask me every day, Rach, how did you do X, Y, and Z? I did the work. I did the work that is necessary for me to reach my goals, and I would still do that work. And I've had people who have helped me on my journey, and I'm really, really grateful, and I love them for that.
Yep.
But in order to do what I'm doing every day, you have to do the work. It is that simple. There is no shortcuts in this life. There is none. And that's why, we do the hours we do. And you have to find out what works for you. Not everything. You have to do what works for you.
Scott?
2. One is quick, but it's impactful. And that is what you answered in the diagram that you put together for me about forgiving yourself when you fall behind on your plans. That is an area I realize as you were saying it, I have a tendency to not do. And I need to work on that. And so that was awesome, because I do get more frustrated with myself when I haven't had time due to these pop-up issues that you just mentioned a second ago that can derail things temporarily. But the big takeaway, and it's something you didn't say directly, but I will just throw out there in terms of how I was processing what you were saying, is that actually a lot of the stuff that you put out around planning, I knew. And as well as the idea of going, like you mentioned, for 4 days and just being in a retreat and coming up with, but we can forget. And what I realized is that it's so easy to get caught in the day to day and forget. One of the things that you did that was impactful for me was you got me to remember. Remember, Scott, you did a retreat exactly what he said like 2 years ago, but you forgot. You know how to do strategic planning from your organizational life. Now, your framework, I have to say, is excellent, simple, and better than any that I've heard before. So, but you enabled us to remember, and the buried things that we know sometimes are those things that with the right person, they can be pulled out and impactful. And so that was a huge thing that you did. That's a big takeaway.
Okay, let me do this, and there's a whole bunch of comments because I'm muted.
Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for
thank you.
Yeah, I don't.
And we appreciate you.
I'm busy pressing all the buttons, so we'll come to all the comments in just a second. Rachel, you talked about self-care, and I'm going to do this slightly different to normal. Self-care is about helping others and yourself. Help yourself first to help others. Help others by the example you show. You're an expert at that. What are your actions? What is your guide, and what is your instruction? In Sede land, that's called inspiring to act, and formulas, which is motivating, inspiring you to think, which is the Sede insights, and the Sede formulas that are coming out are all about motivating you to act. So I'm going to inspire you to think and motivate you to act. And if you remind me, Rachel, remind me to tell everyone about the second show that's being launched next week. So self-care is about helping yourself, helping others by example of your actions. Be a guide and be an instructor. You do that beautifully. Scott, self-awareness, forgive, free to be, reconnect by doing those away day type things that I talked about, renew and refresh. It's really, really simple, because if you forgive yourself for all the stuff that you think you're doing wrong, give yourself some freedom to be, reconnect, renew and refresh. Guess what that's called? Being empathetic to yourself. Mm-hmm. Most people are really are too busy trying. And again, it goes back to what are the actions in the word called trust, love, forgiveness, empathy? What are they? And focus on the actions and being demonstrable. Part of the reason I've been so quiet lately is because I'm getting ready to be relentlessly actionable. Because I'm on a hunt for people who want to change their life, and I make no apology about it in the nicest possible way. Hang on, I'm going to do all of these really quickly. Can I do these? There you go. Happy to hear you live, Steve. Thank you so much. It's the Uber dude, I think, or LinkedIn user.
Hi, Lori. Love you. Hi, Lori. Hi, Rajiv.
Isn't he a superstar? I got to chat with him recently.
Yes.
Love to forgive regardless. Yes. Don't forget, but forgive. I think that's really important.
See you, Rajiv.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Rajiv. Oh,
things.
Laurie, does Laurie not post the most beautiful images with the most amazing content around them? So
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, Laurie's sister.
Yes. What's that? Our actions need to be back up everything we say. Yes. And I also, there's another line that I talk about with Ramona.
Ramona, my sister, I love you.
Yes, not everything's forgivable. No, but you know my thoughts on that. We can't do that again. Accountability is a nice dream, but in my experience and those of women around me, the preparations always get away. Yeah, understand that. But
at Ramona, that was very.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show in there in terms of what we could speak about that, which we're not going to be able to. So which is really cool. Yep. There's everyone. Don't misunderstand, and thank you for bringing this back up again, Laurie. Don't misunderstand the concept of everything's forgivable. I wasn't talking about the forgiveness of the action. I was talking about forgiving yourself for your aligning to the action in any way that you can. And as a man, there's not a great ability for me to understand completely what that actually means. So in terms of some of the things that ladies have to deal with, and I'm not going to be disrespectful to the ladies to even go close to understanding what some of the things that they have to do. But that we can't do that quickly, and I'll be disrespectful to someone if I do, so I won't. Everyone, next week, one of the things that people don't know as we wrap up the show now, one of the things people don't know is the Sede Academy and the 16 class or courses that are inside it, the 350 videos that are inside it. Every single video has got a podcast, a transcript, a guide sheet, and it's all in there. So next week, Monday in Australia, Tuesday in America, I'm actually going to set up in the studio multiple cameras where it's almost going to be like a podcast. I'll be sitting over there shooting back to the studio, and I'll be moving between that set and this set, and I'll be going inside the academy, teaching people from stuff inside the academy. No one knows what's inside there because I've never shown anybody. And some people have seen it, some of the Sede guests, but I don't even, this is so new because it's only in the last couple of days. I don't even know what I'm going to call it. It's the Sede Academy Behind the Insights, Trev wants me to call it. So it'll have questions, people can come in, but I'll be doing it live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and I'll be actually having a laptop over there, the studio set up normally here, and I'll be walking between the two. So we'll be looking at some of the academy content about how do you do the psychology of creating content? How do you move on stage when you speak? How do you create scripts? How do you actually identify them, your mindset mastery and those things? And I'll be picking out one. Check this out, everyone. I'll be picking out one of the lessons and for the next 370 weeks doing shows about it. I am on a relentless mission to release you from who you thought you were and start getting you to believe in what you're capable of being. Any last comments, Rachel and Scott, before we close off?
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
I'm going to have to spend some time cleaning up the floor because my mind's been blown and my brains are all splattered everywhere. I'm going to be up late tonight because of you.
Oh, that's cool.
Gotta have to ask what part of New York really quickly before you get.
I live in Manhattan.
Manhattan? Okay.
Yep.
Love.
Thank you. I love it too, I've got to say. So nice to meet you.
We're going to end on this. If you want to come on the show, everyone, this is the other thing I'll be doing as well. We'll be, as we start posting and everything, if there's people who want to come on the show, that's great. If there's guests for the show on the week of the show, we'll do it. If there's not, I'll just do the other show. We're not chasing anything. Everyone, become a magnet of the example you want to teach and watch when people come and do things like this.
Why is this show an experience
And not just a show.
I can answer that with a question. How brave are you?
What happens
On this show,
You muster up your courage, any of you,
and you go live in front of the world?
and you ask a question of vulnerability that you struggle with.
You are given the awareness you need from the universe.
Proof, Stephen, of how you can handle the struggle.
Can you?
Handle doing that?
Can you?
Because this is your chance personally.
the courage you put into it.
Is equal to the
Value
you get out of it.
Do you have what it takes inside of you to change your life? Only you can decide.
What is your struggle?
And how big is your courage to move through it?
You have no idea what this experience can do for you.
Stephen has a gift
that you can experience,
but only if you have the courage to go live.
Your life will contract
And expand.
based on your courage.
this could be your step to expand. You can. We all did.
So as we promote the show, promote all of the content that's coming out, there'll be invitations for people to come. And if either of you know people you think would enjoy coming on the show, then let them come on and have their experience. But thank you so much to both of you and to everyone who sent in comments and everything. And I shall see you next Tuesday in North America for whatever we're going to call the Sede Academy show. And then I'll be live in Inspiring Insights next Wednesday, Thursday. So twice a week. One is a ferocious commitment to sharing everything I've built in the last decade. The other is to make you believe that you're worth it. Thank you, Rachel and Scott. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Everybody.
Start investing in the world called your dreams.